It's killing me. Welcome back, everyone. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to prepare your cool season lawn for winter. So I see a lot of questions coming up as far as height of cut, what types of fertilizers, and blowing out your sprinklers. So I think people make it a little bit bigger of a to-do than what it really is. So I'm going to show you what my simple steps are, kind of leading up to winter, late September through October and maybe early November, depending on where you live. So with that being said, let's get after it. All right, so the height of cut for wintertime for your cool season lawn. A question that I see come up all the time is, should I cut it lower for winter? I know a lot of people in the fall like to bring their height of cut down because the temperatures are cooler and they're not dealing with the heat stresses of summer. And they typically do that over a series of cuts over, they'll drop it a click each mow or every other mow and progressively work their grass down. And I think that's perfectly healthy and a normal operation. Now, taking the last 2 cuts of the season and cutting your grass substantially lower or lower than what you would normally do, it adds a lot more stress to your lawn prior to going into winter dormancy, which is already stressful enough on your grass, so you don't want to do that. You want your grass to be as healthy as it can be going into winter. So I've got 2 scenarios at my house. My front lawn is kept at 5/8 to a 1/2 inch all year long. It's a Kentucky Bluegrass perennial ryegrass blend. And also my back lawn is Kentucky Bluegrass perennial ryegrass blend, and I cut it a lot taller at 2.5 inches. And both my front and back lawn are used to being cut at those heights, and so that's where I leave them at going into winter. All right, my fall time fertilizing routine, it's probably pretty standard and pretty basic, but there's a few things I'm looking for. I want a high nitrogen source that's quick release and something with a higher potassium count. So this year I grabbed a Scott's Winter Guard. It's a fall time fertilizer. I'm not brand specific and it's probably not your cheapest option, but it is readily available. The bag count is a 32010 and 21.8% of that nitrogen is urea based. So that's where we're gonna get our quick release nitrogen from. Also with this higher potassium count, that'll help our grass during winter dormancy. So what I like to do is spoon feed about a 1/4 pound of nitrogen to my lawn every week for the next 4 to 6 weeks, hoping to hit about 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds leading up to winter. So that'll help with an early spring green up. All right, so lastly is blowing your sprinklers out. I like to do this the last week of October or within the first couple weeks of November, depending on what the temperatures are and what my schedule's like. So as long as you have an air compressor, you can do this yourself and it's really actually pretty easy. So I start by isolating my double check valve and then I hook my airline hose into the fitting that I installed on my sprinkler system to where I can just quick disconnect it or quick plug it in. And then I just run each zone individually. So you wanna make sure to isolate that double check valve so you're not putting any pressure back into the check valve itself and just out through your sprinklers. So I'll run each zone individually until there's no more water left in the lines. So with my size of compressor, I tend to have to do it 2 or 3 times to ensure that there's no more water left in there. And then lastly, with that double check valve still isolated, I open up, there's 3 black caps that I spin off and then there's some brass set screws in there and I just back those out and let any of the water drain out so that over wintertime it won't freeze up and cause any damage to that double check valve. All right, so that's my process in preparing my lawn for winter. I hope it sounds easy because it is. Just make sure to pick up all your lawn debris, whether it's pine needles and leaves, and mow them up, bag them, get them off your lawn. Cut heights, keep your grass where it's at. Don't worry about cutting it any lower than what you have been. Just make sure it's going into winter super healthy. And then your fall fertilizer, just use something with a higher nitrogen count and a little bit more potassium there. And like I said, I like to spoon feed a 1/4 pound of nitrogen every week over about a 4 to 6 week period. So I'm getting about 1.5 pounds of nitrogen down before winter hits. But if you're just someone that likes to apply your fertilizers a few times a year, probably a spring, summer, and fall, you can just follow the bag rate on that, which should give you about 3/4 pound of nitrogen in that one application. And just do it within the last few mows and before your grass goes dormant. And then blowing your sprinklers out, if you've got an air compressor, it's super easy to do yourself. Just make sure to pay attention to the PSI ratings on your sprinkler heads, so when you turn your compressor on, you're not gonna cause any damage that you're gonna have to fix in the springtime. Make sure you isolate your double check valve, remove those 3 little black caps, and back those set screws out to allow any of the water inside that double check valve to drain out so it doesn't freeze up in the winter. So I hope that helped out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.